Welcome to today's video. A bit more about this new variant today and what it means and what it doesn't mean, and then we'll look at some difficulties that are going on in the United States. Some of the things that I'd feared in terms of hospital provision do seem to be unfortunately coming to fruition now in parts of the United States at least. Let's start with the good news though. The European Medicines Agency has authorised the Pfizer vaccine. They weren't actually due to meet till the 29th, but they brought it forward to today, the 21st, under pressure from the Germans and the Spanish. Pity it's taken them so long. In the UK, we've already given 500,000 doses of the Pfizer vaccine. It's been getting given out in the United States for some time now, and the Moderna vaccine is starting to be injected in the United States today. The Oxford vaccine is probably going to be approved on the 28th or the 29th of December in the UK, giving the UK 100 million doses. When the European Medicines Agency authorises it, there's 200 million doses for Europe. And when the FDA authorises it, there's 300 million doses for the United States. So things are going to get dramatically better once these vaccines roll out. But there's some major problems. And these vaccines aren't going to start massively affecting immunity for some time. They're going to protect millions of individuals. That's a wonderful thing. Every person that gets vaccinated is great. I wish I could get mine today. I'm just not on the list yet. It's great for the individuals, but it's not going to give us substantial herd immunity effects until about March. So we've got a bit to go yet. And that brings us on to this new variant, the new variant virus that we have the problem with now. Now, the UK borders are basically closed now. Now, the irony is here that we've closed the borders now because we have to, because, most people have closed their borders to us now. Wouldn't it have been so much easier to close the borders in February, when we had no virus, as we were advocating and others were advocating, but we are where we are at, I suppose. So, but anyway, let's go on and look at this detail here. So we mentioned that one, that's good. So UK border closes. France closed its border with the UK for 48 hours. Now, discussions are ongoing now. Dover's currently closed, which is where most of the freight goes. Unbelievable. There's normally 10,000 lorries, or I don't know what you call them in the States, semi-trucks or something. The great big lorries, the articulated lorries. There's normally 10,000 of those a day go through Dover, and that's been closed down. So there's been a lot of problems there. Kent police are stacking them up on the motorway. They've got a well laid out plan for this. Manston Airport is open to accommodate lorries. 10,000 lorries a day go through Dover. Unaccompanied freight is still allowed. So the problem here seems to be the French authorities are worried about infection from the lorry drivers themselves rather than the freight or anything like that. And I'm expecting that's going to be resolved fairly soon. But it is quite a major temporary problem. I would imagine they're going to facilitate testing of all the lorry drivers before they go. That may well be the way out of this, and that can certainly be done. The infrastructure to do that could be organised within a fairly short period of time. Now, the Eurotunnel and the Eurostar to France and Belgium both closed. Flights from the UK suspended to more than 40 countries. All these countries aren't accepting UK flights. So, as we've said, basically the UK is isolated now because people don't want this new variation of the virus, which we're coming on to. Now, cases in the UK today, that was the number yesterday on Sunday, always a bit down on Sunday, that was the number on Saturday. That's the official number of cases, over 2 million in the UK. Now, so the cases have been increasing in the United Kingdom, especially in these areas where the new variant is in the southeast and round about London area. Deaths in the UK still going up, of course, unfortunately, because of the cases that were had already. And this is the figure of deaths within 28 days of diagnosis. This is the figure of deaths that are on the death certificate. So this is probably the more accurate figure, and that is the increase in the last 7 days. Whereas that is the increase on Sunday, and that is the increase on Saturday for that figure. Matt Hancock's actually used unusual language for a politician. He said the new variant is getting out of control, particularly in London and South East. But it has spread all around the country. So all parts of the country, Scotland, Wales, England. We don't know about Northern Ireland yet, but all parts of the country are seeded with this new variant. People that left London in crowded trains a couple of days ago, as soon as this was announced and got out before the deadline, they will be spreading this new variant all around the country as we speak, unless they are all meticulously self-isolating for at least 10 days, as I would hope, but I suspect are not. The level of compliance with the basic rules that everyone knows, really, it's so many people are doing so well, but there's a proportion of people that are basically just ignoring the rules because it's inconvenient for them. This is a sad reflection on my countrymen. Sad reflection on human nature, really. People are going to die because of this. Now, this mutation, we're going to call it the 2020-12. So it arose in 2020 in the 12th month. Or no, it didn't arise then, it was identified then. Now, this is the mutation here. It's the N501Y, so that is the name of the mutation. Now, what happens is, that is one of so this is the 501st position on the spike protein. So the spike protein is made up of this huge long chain of amino acids. That's one amino acid, that's another one. That's another one, that's another one. Great big long chain of amino acids like this. And what these amino acids do is they fold into particular shapes like this, because there's like cross bonding between them, and they fold into particular shapes, and that's what gives the proteins what we call their molecular architecture. So you can see already that we're kind of developing an overall shape to this protein that gives them their functions. So that's amino acid 1, that's number 2, that's number 3, that's number 4, that's number 5, number 6 as it goes round. Well, this mutation is in the 501st, and the N form of the amino acid has been converted into the Y form of the amino acid. So that's what this means. N501 is what it was, 501Y is what it is now, and there's been an amino acid switch. So asparagine is the N, and that's been converted to tyrosine, which is the Y. It's important because it's on the receptor-binding domain, which actually fits into the cell receptor in you if you are unfortunate enough to get infected. And now this is replacing the other variants that are around. So because this is more infectious, it's reproducing more. So this particular variant, this mutant, I'll talk about mutants in a minute. This particular variant, because it's more transmissible, it's spreading to more people, so it's becoming the dominant form of the virus. In a sense, this form of the virus is becoming the pandemic. Now, when people hear the term mutation, they tend to think of some hideous mutated creature or something, like on a Hollywood film. But the term mutation simply means an alteration in the genetic material. That's all it means. And there's been an alteration in one of the bases in the RNA that has caused this change in the amino acid. But that changes the shape of the protein, therefore it changes the behaviour of the protein. And in this case, it's made it more likely to bind into and infect the ACE2 receptor on the surface of someone's cells. And that's what seems to have happened here. In fact, we're pretty sure that's what's happened. So it's a problem because it's in the receptor-binding domain. Now, just to illustrate this, mutations aren't new by any means. So back in February, there was this one, D614G, where the D form changed to the G form. And that's aspartate changed to glycine, the different amino acids. So this, originally in China, when this virus first began, the 614th amino acid, the D614, that's what nearly all the viruses were like. But then over the course of a few months, between say February and July, this one, because this one was slightly less infectious, we believe, all of this changed to 614 N4G, which is the one we have now. So this is not new. Mutations are happening all the time. And indeed, about 12,000 mutations have been identified in this virus so far. It's mutating all the time. Now, sometimes a virus becomes more prevalent because it's in the right place at the right time. This is called the founder effect, and other times it's because it's more contagious. And here it seems to be because it's more contagious. That's why it's spread. It could be because there's more virus in the upper airways. Therefore, more virus is blown out. So people probably shed larger numbers of viral particles when they have this 501Y form of the 501st amino acid, as opposed to the older, less contagious N form. Now, this was first detected in September. Now, since September, actually the 20th of September when this was first detected. Now, since then, that means we've had the last 11 days in September, all of October, all of November, and up till whenever we found this out, the 19th of December. So we've had basically 3 months for this to spread around the world. So that's what it'll have done. So unfortunately, it's very likely that this mutant is already around the world. Now, did this virus start in the UK? It was detected in the UK. But there again, in the UK, we've analysed 140,000 viral genomes. We have a very high, Genomics UK analysed a lot of viral genomes. So it could well be that it came from abroad and was just first detected in Kent. Or it could be that it was a mutation that arose in Kent. We simply don't know, but the UK has got very high levels of genomic surveillance. So I strongly suspect now that in France and Germany and Belgium and the Netherlands and the United States, we've got scientists frantically taking samples of their infections and running a genomic analysis on them to see if they have this variant there already. And they may well do, because we know that this 501 mutation is already present in Brazil. We know it's turned up in Australia. Now, in South Africa as well. That's why there's an increase in cases in South Africa. Now, the one in South Africa, it's a mutation that's arisen independently in South Africa. But because this is a mutation which, if it arises, will be selected for and will increase in frequency, it's not surprising that this mutation should arise in different places. So the 501 mutation, it's the same mutation. It's exactly the same mutation that's arisen in South Africa. It's the N501Y, but it seems to have arisen independently. In evolutionary terms, this is called convergence. So it's like squid and humans have very similar eyes, but they're from completely different evolutionary lineages. Or bats have wings and birds have wings, even though they're not related. It's the same sort of thing. It's arisen via separate viral evolutionary mechanism. Right. So it's becoming the more dominant one because it's spreading more. So November in London, it was about 25% of cases. December in London, now it's over 60% of cases. In early September in London, it was 0% of cases. Where did it come from? Well, as we've said, it might just be because we detected it first in the UK, or it might be because it arose first in the UK. We don't know. But we do know that exactly the same strain with the associated there's another 17 mutations which are associated with this N501Y mutation. There's another 17 mutations associated with it, and exactly the same strains have turned up in Denmark, Australia, and the Netherlands. In small numbers, and in Australia it's being contained, but it is already there in those other countries. And again, Denmark, New Zealand and Australia are countries with fairly high levels of genomic surveillance. I am sure this will turn out to be in quite a few other countries already, unfortunately. Whether it arose in another country and came to the UK, or whether it spread from the UK to another country, more people are going to find it now they know what to look for. So just remember that new mutations are uncommon, 12,000 globally. And from examining this, they've worked out that the UK was actually infected 1,300 times with different types of virus, all the same virus but slightly different. genomic configurations. I mean, this virus mutates about a couple of times a month on average. Influenza probably on average mutates about once a week. HIV mutates 2 or 3 times a week. That's why it's so hard to make a vaccine to HIV. So these mutations in viruses are not surprising. We know these happen. And so far, we believe this is not going to affect the vaccine. People that are immune because they've had the disease, we don't believe are going to get the disease again. Or if they do, it's likely to be an asymptomatic form. So it's not going to affect immunity as far as we currently understand. And importantly to remember, it doesn't make people more sick. People do not get sicker with this new virus. New variant, sorry. It's just that it transmits more quickly. And significantly more quickly, probably 70% more. Increasing the R value from probably, putting the R value up by about 0.4, some people even saying as high as 0.9. So it is making the virus more transmissible. This is the problem. Now, I was a bit worried about the Mink mutation. There are commonalities. In the Mink mutation, it's amino acids 69 and 70 that are absent. And that is also the same in 2012. So that's one of these 17 mutations that's in this mutated virus. But there's other 3 amino acid replacements in these positions are different. So there's differences. So these 3 amino acid replacements in the Mink mutation are different to this. So it hasn't come directly from the Mink, although it does share some features in common with the Mink mutation. But again, they seem to have arisen independently by this convergent evolution of the virus. Let's have a quick look at the numbers in the UK, because we know they are going up. So the areas where the new virus, the new variant is kind of round about here. We see more cases, and we also know the new variant has spread to Wales, and that's probably what's been driving the increase in numbers in Wales. And we see that the overall number of people with the infection at any one time is starting to increase. That's according to the COVID Symptom Tracker app. Cases by date reported. So that's, what's that one? Cases by specimen date and cases by date reported. Substantial rises in the UK. Concerning rises in the UK. And of course, the reason that this matters is because the healthcare provision is becoming greatly strained now, with increasing numbers again for total number of hospitalisations, now over 18,000. And the same is true for the United States, the increase in hospitalisations. So I think what we'll do now is I always go on too long, so they're the websites. I'm going to come back and talk about the USA as a separate video. Otherwise, we'll be here. People don't want to watch videos that are too long, so we'll come and do that as a separate one shortly. So we'll leave that mutation one there at the moment. Key things to take away: it's more transmissible. The evidence for this is that areas where infection rates are increasing have a higher incidence of this mutation. So there's this correlation effect. That's true with this 501 mutation in the UK. It's also been true in Brazil, and it's also true in South Africa. But as well as that, the scientists at Porton Down have done studies on this, and they think it's more transmissible. Now, that information is not in the public domain yet. We're getting this through the Scientific Advisory Group for SAGs, Scientific Advisory Group for Emergencies, and through their doctors and scientists. This is how we're getting that information, but we do know that's come from studies at Porton Down. So we're pretty sure about the increased transmissibility. It's not causing more severe disease, and as of now it won't affect the effectiveness of the vaccine, or indeed infect the levels of immunity of people that have already been exposed. But it does leave us this dreadful gap between now with this new variant and when the vaccines kick in March. Now, we can compensate for the increased transmissibility of the virus by more attention to hand hygiene, face covering, the masks, physical spaces between people, having good ventilation in our buildings. And basically it means that Christmas is too big a risk if there's spread within families, and elderly relatives or patients or relatives with comorbidities become ill as a result of your Christmas activities. That would be a difficult thing to live with. So we really need to suspend Christmas. We are seeing the Thanksgiving surge in the United States, which I'm going to come on with. We really don't want a Christmas surge in January, February, because the herd immunity from the vaccines will be kicking in March, April. We've just got this next couple of months to get through. Okay, that's an update on that, I think. So we'll come back and do a separate bit on the United States because there are particular problems there. But there's good news from the Moderna vaccine as well. So thanks for watching this video, as always.